What was once highly respected but is now a complete joke? Story 1. Bank managers. They used to have serious power in local communities. Now they have to be glorified customer service reps a lot of the time. I'm in banking and I've never really thought about it that way, but it's so true. I'm on the lending side, but I definitely see branch banking has become horrible. The turnover rate is just as bad as retail, pay rate is the same, and people are treated just as poorly, all while having much more responsibility and compliance stipulations because they're handling money. I left branch life for the back office. My husband is a virtual teller, ATM, Skype hybrid, but they put so much pressure on them to sell. Of course, they don't call it selling. It's to offer them products to improve their lives. Credit cards, mortgages, investment and retirement, car loans, home equity loans, and it's frowned upon if they don't get quality referrals. People don't want to hear that from their local friendly branch, let alone some random person they've never seen on a TV screen. It doesn't help that most people don't like the virtual teller system and go right into I hate you mode from the start. I left my old bank because of this. All I wanted to do was deposit my checks and get my free sucker, but they insisted on trying to push whatever new reward scheme they had going. So I started using the drive-up teller to avoid this, until the drive-up teller started doing the same thing. So I left and went to a credit union. Every now and then I get an email survey from the credit union asking multiple questions about my recent visit, but one question that always shows up is, did the teller inform you of our XXXXX whatever program? My reply is always the same. No, and if they ever do, I will be closing out my account. If you want to inform me about new programs, email or snail mail me the info. Do not have the tellers do it. Honestly, it feels like any job you get has a secondary sales part to it now. Cashiers are expected to upsell, bankers, movie theater employees, waiters. Hell, even your gas station clerk also has to be practicing salesman now or get reprimanded. I don't have a point beyond this is ridiculous, and I don't want to be advertised to by every human I interact with. The worst part is they expect employees to hustle for sales when they won't also pay them commission for it. I steadfastly refuse to try and upsell people on anything unless I'm getting a cut. If you're not paying me like a sales role, I'm not going to roleplay being in one for you. Story 2. McAfee Antivirus. All the OG antivirus software, really. What antivirus software is not a joke now? Well, bizarrely, Windows Defender. Windows Defender getting its stuff together just ruined the antivirus industry as a whole. AV vendors popping up nag Windows every 10 minutes for registry cleaners, VPN add-ons, and safer browser plugins, which killed performance even after you've paid for the freaking thing. Avast installing a safe browser plugin that rewrote search results to insert their own affiliate links was the final straw for me. I'm quite lazy and happy to pay annual license fees, etc. for software I find useful. That crappy behavior led me to canceling my sub, and I've relied upon Windows Defender ever since. Behavior of the antivirus vendors at least partly responsible for their own decline. The internet in general is obscenely safe with just Windows Defender. I don't think I, or anyone I know, has gotten a virus in nearly 10 years. Unless you install McAfee and Friends. Then all of a sudden your PC has issues, finds viruses all the time, and causes issues with program and game installation and running them to the point that it messes so much with files that some updates for programs end in an update loop because the files were moved without permission. Not to mention the impact on performance. Story 3. The History Channel, the Learning Channel, MTV. TLC now unofficially stands for Terrible Life Choices, or with a few of their stars, Touching Little Children. TLC is very uncomfortable to watch. It is the modern-day equivalent of a freak show, in my opinion. I routinely feel bad for a lot of the people who've been there, especially kids. I get Discovery Plus for about 2-ish months so I can watch BattleBots. The amount of just disgusting schlock on that app is mind-blowing. I counted all the different 90 Day Fiancé shows on the front page one time, and it was dang near double digits. Like, how are there so many freaking spin-offs to that stuff? Because reality shows in general are extremely cheap to produce, and people keep watching them. Why do people keep watching them? I have no clue. I hate them. The History Channel should be renamed the Conspiracy Channel. The History Channel, where the truth is history. Ancient astronaut theorists say yes. Ancient Aliens is great if you want a good laugh, to be honest. A couple months ago, I watched 2 episodes for craps and giggles, and it was truly an amazing experience. One was going on about how alien leaders are giant praying mantises, because why not? And the other was about how the Loch Ness Monster and Bigfoot are actually aliens who use hidden portals to teleport around the world and evade capture. 10 out of 10. Funnier than most comedies I've seen. Food Network, too. It used to be educational and fun. Now it's just non-stop competition. I can't stand the seemingly mandatory sob stories they make competitors say throughout the episodes. I was super messed up when my rabbit died at age 8. Sad music. I found my passion and inspiration through cooking to get through losing him. I'm 57 now, and I entered this competition to win in honor of Fluffy. I hope I made him proud with this taco. Sheds tears. Narrator. Today's secret ingredient is rabbit. Story 4. The Food Pyramids. How dare you? I'm enjoying 6 to 11 servings of bread every day, thank you very much. 11 cups of rice and 5 glasses of milk a day. Don't forget 2 packs of cigarettes a day. My food pyramid was funded by R.J. Reynolds. True. Found out the Canadian Food Guide was originally created as a rationing plan during World War I. The Canadian Food Guide is actually better than ever before. It was redone, this time without taking any industry funding and based on scientific findings. Still, everybody eats processed food instead anyway. Canada's food guide went from saying 6 servings per day of dairy is mandatory to saying it is completely unnecessary. Yeah, they even released their methodology on how they did the revision of the food guide and evidence it's based on. I use their website to look through recipes sometimes. I found interesting stuff that's easy for me to try. Story 5. Hobbies. I am a hobbyist musician and will never try to make money off of my music. I simply enjoy creating it with zero expectations. Hustle culture ruined a lot of that because now every time I share my music with people, it turns into a conversation about monetization or how I'm wasting my time on something. It's hard to even find like-minded people who want to collaborate without it turning into some big thing. Time enjoyed is not time wasted. Keep doing what you love. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there, but don't be pressured to do something you don't want to do. The world is full of people who want what you have. Trust me. Don't let them take it if it's taking a chunk of you with it. My partner does this and doesn't realize why it bothers me. I've stopped talking about my hobbies with him because, no, I don't need to become an influencer on whatever because I like doing it a couple of times a week. I have no issue with side hustles. I've had a few, but sometimes I can do something for the joy it gives me. The word amateur is derived from the Latin word amator, meaning lover. It's someone who does what they do for the love of it. Sadly, now people use it as an insult. I want to sell my art because I want my art to live in a stranger's house. But I don't want them to think it's so cheap they can just throw it away. I want it to last a long time. So I figure if someone pays money for it, they'll hold on to it longer and maybe try to sell or gift it to someone else when they're done with it. Sure, the cash would be nice too, but it's a means to an end. But when some of my family members and coworkers tell me I should be selling my art, I feel like they're only thinking of the money. I feel it's a case of exploiting the art versus empowering it. It's like the difference between selling puppies to put them into good homes versus selling them for profit. Story 6. Sears. I worked there until they were bought by Kmart. It was a great job, making $25 an hour selling vacuums and some appliances. Commissions got cut, and I was making minimum wage less than a year after they were acquired. Didn't make that much again at any job until after college. Making $25 an hour in retail would be considered insanely good right now, yet somehow you made that much about 20 years ago when cost of living was significantly lower. Yeah, it was amazing, even with a toxic manager and horrific Christmas season. I really liked the serious sales work. I learned to sew to sell sewing machines, and I was the only person who knew how to sell water softeners. I took the vacuums apart and put them back together in my spare time, too. I still have strong opinions on vacuum brands. I was a construction project manager after college, making less money than that in 2015 even. What's your strongest vacuum brand opinion? Can someone link the AMA, actually several, from that one dude who repaired vacuums? He single-handedly convinced me to buy my Miele vacuum about 4 years ago. I love it. Built like a tank. So Sears didn't sell that brand or any other really high-end. However, I was in on the action when Dyson took off. I was not a fan. I much prefer bags. But I was making $50 commission for each one sold, and another $25 if I sold the warranty. For a good vacuum on the $200 range, there was no beating the dual-motor Panasonic-made Kenmore. The beater bar had its own motor and no belts. The Electrolux was the best canister vacuum. I hated every Bissell. The base model Hoover Tempo for like $80 had the same motor as the $250 one, and it would run forever, so definitely a great buy. And props to the Hoover carpet cleaner for having a completely separate bucket for dirty water from clean. The Bissell was hot garbage, with a nasty and hard-to-clean bladder system. Story 7. People are going to reflexively deny its initial popularity, but Facebook. It even used its exclusivity as a primary marketing tool during its initial launch only for colleges. I remember the mass exodus from MySpace to Facebook and me not wanting to do it because I liked my little HTML-coded background flames over my text and my overly edgy dark themes with music playing from bands so unknown that even I've forgotten them now. But then we all got Facebook and it became so big, I kept trying to get my dad on it and he refused because of safety reasons and privacy. I thought he was weird back then, and my sisters even made him a profile that he had them take down. Then, about 8 years ago, he made an account. Now his entire life is consumed by endlessly scrolling through Facebook, reposting old memes, and signing up for every online offer there is. It's like he did a 180 on his security stance about the time I actually started to understand it. There was a period when Facebook was the best way for college students to interact with other college students online, which sounds insane now, but was actually true in its early years. Was in college from 2007 to 2011, instead of asking girls for their numbers, I definitely asked if I could add them on Facebook. I got a random message in college, 2006, once, along the lines of, "Hey, I see you like these bands too. They're playing 4 hours away tonight. You want to drive up together?" I did want to go, so I spent 8 hours in a car with a complete stranger that just happened to go to the same college as me. I can't fathom doing that today. Story 8. Working in the educational system. Being a teacher still sounds worthy of respect, but working as one is a joke. Kids are free to do whatever they want. You're barely allowed to punish bad behavior in any way. School politics stop from changing anything. Parents always blame you, etc. I feel so bad for teachers. Their job is one of the most important in our entire society, yet they get paid scraps and saddled with all kinds of BS from politicians. Many of mine worked incredibly hard and genuinely loved their jobs, but you could tell they were exhausted. And the schools I went to were dang good as far as public schools go, and they still struggled with funding. I can't even imagine what goes on at the worst of times, or even the same schools currently. My state's governor has been cutting education funding like no tomorrow. In my wife's district, teachers can't, well, she can, because she has the training, restrain students who are destroying their room or threatening other students unless death is likely to occur. I would be much less bothered by this if she also didn't pay for all the stuff in her classroom out of pocket. Story 9. Craftsman tools. OG Craftsman tools were something else. After he died a few years ago, I inherited my father's tool collection, most of which he had inherited from my grandfather in the 70s. Those tools are so much better than anything I've bought for myself. Superior quality. And if they did break, you could just walk into Sears, show it to them, and they'd give you a replacement, no questions asked. Hand tools and non-wear items, that is, so no power tools, saw blades, etc. Former Lowe's employee here, Craftsman is far and away the brand of tools that get returned the most due to them malfunctioning or breaking. It's crazy, because my dad still has some Craftsman stuff from when it was a Sears brand, and they work great. Craftsman is just Black & Decker crap now. Black & Decker made decent products at one time too. Story 10. Wells Fargo. Modern Wells Fargo is not the same as stagecoach driving Wild West Wells Fargo. Norwest Bank acquired real Wells Fargo in the late 90s, but kept the Wells Fargo name as it had better brand recognition. All of the recent scandals have occurred since the takeover, in the bank formerly known as Norwest. I worked for Wells Fargo for a time, and all the Norwest holdovers would get a far-off look in their eyes when telling us how much better things were before the acquisition. Even the higher-ups that would sacrifice their firstborn at the altar of capitalism would reminisce about how awesome it was before it became such a corporate pigsty. Good times. Story 11. The Guinness Book of World Records. Once a well-established and professional collection of every impressive human feat, now a quick ego boost for rich kids that have barely enough talent to balance an egg on their forehead for 15 seconds on a July afternoon at exactly 11:55 a.m. while wearing a Hello Kitty onesie. The Book of Records used to be feats of amazing skill and talent. Now it has records like, who can put the most clothespins on their face? All you have to do to beat them is have a bigger face. Bill Bailey. Story 12. Staying at a job out of loyalty. You stay loyal to jobs that take care of you. Crap wages, no benefits, and no human decency is where you expect to begin. But if there's zero progress since the day you started, you need to get the frick out, unless you can admit you're not worth more than where you're at. More like companies being loyal to employees. Providing a good wage, raises, benefits, pensions, etc. Why should employees stay out of loyalty when companies aren't loyal or acting in their best interests? It's a job. The entire idea of loyalty to a job is a joke. Story 13. Landline telephones. The house phone used to be a vital link to the outside world. It's how you'd talk to friends and family far away, interact with businesses, call for help in an emergency. But once junk calls were allowed to spiral completely out of control, the phone became a nuisance. As someone I saw said a while back, a Gen Z person would sooner jump on a live grenade than accept an incoming call from an unknown number. And that's in the context of mobile phones, which don't get nearly as much spam. Wired phones are almost completely useless today. Story 14. Dr. Martens boots. A British institution. You bought a pair, they lasted for years. Alas, private equity got involved, manufacturing was sent offshore, and the quality went down like a submarine. You are better off buying a pair of boots from the company that used to make them for a DM than a genuine pair of DMs nowadays. Their quality is a shadow of what it once was. So, who used to make them for Dr. Martens? My husband needs new boots. Story 15. Blizzard, the video game company. There is no Blizzard anymore. Only Activision wearing Blizzard's corpse as a skin suit. That skin will be $9.95. But you'll have to spend $20 on in-game currency. That is game-specific. Skin costs 1,600 credits, and you can buy 1,500 credits for $9.99. Story 16. Bill Cosby. A comedian who once prided himself on only using clean comedy became the inspiration and subject of 1,000 jokes on, well, assaults. Story 17. Walking into a workplace to inquire about a job in person. Construction union contractors can still be like this, and I prefer it this way, but for everything else, I understand. Please leave your stories in the comments. I'd love to make a video of them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.